хорошо.
Всем привет, друзья! Меня зовут Селиван, с вами канал Sylvan Game. И сегодня мы продолжаем играть в прекраснейшую игру Stanley Parable. Зашел и внезапно опять настройка яркости. Давайте настроим вот так как-то было. Тащите ползунок, пока кошка с собакой не подружатся. Хе-хе. Так, тащите ползунок, пока цифра 5 не станет цифрой 9. Хе-хе-хе. Так, тащите ползунок, пока меню не поменяется. Чего? Ну. Где оно меняется-то? Какой из двух выдуманных слов нравится вам больше? Окубинка и скрумтуш. Ну, окубинка это как округленка, я не знаю. Что-то такое окубленное. А скрумтуш что-то такое прям заводное. Ай, скрумтуш. Не перетаскивай это, пожалуйста. Вы знаете, сколько сейчас времени? Да. Да. Нет. Вы скрываете от меня какой-то факт про себя? Да. Помогите. Да, пожалуйста. Зайдете ко мне повидаться? Допустим, да? Да. Менюшка чуть-чуть преобразилась. Теперь мы играем в Stanley Parable 2. Посмотрим, что нас ждет сегодня, помимо ползунков.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Мы это слышали.
Stanley worked for a company.
Сотню раз. Давайте... У меня идея появилась, но ее, мне кажется, не реализовать. То есть взять ведро и войти обратно вот в эту комнату. Получится или нет? Нет, не получится.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
С ведром. Так, внезапная мысль.
Stanley clung the bucket to his cheek. Could his co-workers really all be gone?
Вот что-то другое. Оба.
Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear. We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrator. At last, out here in the white void, we are alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self. The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the land and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger, of hope and redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more, There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley.
What are you talking about?
He screamed.
You're a bucket!
To this, the bucket furrowed its brow.
No,
Said the bucket.
not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I stole from his treasured vaults. I was young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of... No!
Stanley screamed even louder this time.
This is stupid! You are a bucket!
А то, что ты с ведром разговариваешь, это вообще в порядке вещей, да?
As Stanley screamed and screamed and screamed, the bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like...
Ну, ясно, ясно. Экономят на спецэффектах.
My God, Stanley, you did it. You saved us from the bucket. Thank God you already had all 12 emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket, nor the dark magic cast away inside of it.
Допустим, я не знаю. Чем мы еще не пробовали? Мы не пробовали... Если вы помните, то мы как-то заходили... Подожди, сюда вошли. Пошли. Мы ходили вот сюда. И там нужно было выбирать дверь, которая была красной. Мы выбрали синюю.
I'm not your enemy, really. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Сейчас чихну.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you forgot. Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why... I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley... Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1. Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Отлично. Погнали в красную.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I want it to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
А теперь ребятку... Давай, ладно, хорошо.
What do we want? What are we looking for?
Ну, давай посмотрим, что мы хотим. Планетарий?
Here, yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
У меня глаза слезятся.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Куда-нибудь.
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Чего мы потеряем?
Please,
Светяшки.
no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Чего?
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Кавабанга!
Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now,
А как я выжил-то?
No. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Давай, хорошо, О, зелененький.
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Кислотный диджей. Давай, давай. Кислотный мьюзик. Хей, кислотный people. Хей, кислотный люди. Хей, давай, давай, веселей. Давай не будем двигаться вот какое-то время. Что-то произойдет? Просто интерес. Просто залипалка, да? Космическая лава-лампа. Все, ничего больше не будет. Ладно. Скучно тут.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
Ну, само собой.
Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Мы в тупике. Смотреть на это вечно я не хочу. Бульк.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Пойдем. Еще раз посмотрим.
Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about.
Не факт. Ой. Че оно сверху-то светится?
I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
В каком смысле? В каком смысле уйдем из этого места? Почему оно все поднялось вверх? Бля, как на тепловизор без солнцезащитных очков. Куда оно? Пыльца какая-то полетела. А тут нельзя спрыгнуть. Ладно, пойдем спрыгнем там. Я уже еле хожу. Значит, еще один прыжок, и мне каюк. Логично? Логично.
No, perhaps not.
Че? В смысле? Вряд ли. Сейчас будут крики отчаяния, давай.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Нет. Просто мне скучно здесь находиться. Бук.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us. Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Хе-хе-хе. Но на самом деле я хожу просто посмотреть, изменится что-то или нет. Ну, интересно, что ты скажешь.
I wanted us to be happy here, Stanley. I really did. I wish I still thought that was possible.
Угу. Все, да? Просто после того, что происходит вот в этой... В апдейте, скажем, он очень немногословен здесь. После тех 3-минутных монологов, которые он загоняет в новый. Это прям какое-то... что-то неправильное. Давай, скажи что-нибудь в последний раз. Перед тем, как мы с тобой перезапустим игру. Че он молчит-то? Ты знаешь? Я не знаю. Давай. Все?
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Да это не ахти какой долгий путь был. Текс.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Пойдем. Вот, и теперь, кстати, можно сходить вот в эту всю приколюху.
All seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Вот во все эти развилки уже с ведром.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Он какой-то грустный.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the car. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Ну, не совсем. Че ведро скажет теперь?
No, stop. Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here?
Легко.
What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Пути назад нет. Давайте. Что за реалити-шоу?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
А че если нет сказать?
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Так.
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Да нет, конечно.
Incorrect. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
Давай.
Is this a bucket? Incorrect. This is a bucket.
А объяснить? Нет?
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
Я всё нет отметил.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
Слышь.
Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Прекрасно.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ну, у нас еще один вариант там есть. Это не спрыгивать с лифта и поехать по прямой. Можем попробовать этот вариант.
Stanley came to a set of two open doors. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Eat.
You're getting close now, Stanley.
Да.
You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Прекрасно. А назад я как вернусь? Где я?
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten.
А вот это уже интересно.
Office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed. You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Хорошо. Но все еще остался вариант, где мы просто идем вперед.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Так.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Да.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
О ком я
I'm
забыл?
not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Кого?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Ну-ка.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her.
Так, ну я
If
вижу
you
вот
can
это.
truly place your faith in another,
Надо
then
взять
pick up
трубку,
the
правильно?
phone.
А чё, если я не возьму?
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, it can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Хорошо, давай.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Ну это хорошо, это хорошо. Только там коридор, по-моему, не тот. А, нет, тот. Та-ра-та-та-та-та-та-та-та. Чё тут? Ничего.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
La 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 la.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that you... My story! You've destroyed my work! Why? For what? What did you get out of that?
приколу.
What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
Хуйта какая-то. Чё за Вьетнам?
I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You. Who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed.
Они
It was the
уничтожены,
only thing in
она.
the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you, You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make... behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Мне вообще не даст, да?
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would.
Оно
That
будет
means choosing responsibly and always
рестартиться
putting the
каждый
story
раз, как я
first.
захожу в
I'm
ту
quite
дверь,
sure
да?
you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine.
Ладно,
All right.
ладно, давай.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Без
he
проблем.
entered the door on his left.
Погнали. Пожалуйста. Мне не жалко.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Не хочет открываться.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Хорошо, мне не дают сделать никаких неправильных выборов.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Куда говорить-то, ёпти-мати?
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
Да я пытаюсь, оно не тыкается. Ночная акула
I'm
115.
sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
Да я говорю, ночная акула 115, блядь.
Okay, fine, you're not gonna do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You... When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me?
Все, типа, прошел, да?
Everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right.
Чего, Лерой?
I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
Лерой Дженкинс, блядь, где? Чё мне... Рестарт, хорошо.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Угу. Хорошо, хорошо, хорошо. Взять, не взять. Взять, не взять. Не взять, я пока еще там не посмотрел. Что будет, если взять телефон?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Не угадал.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her
Давай,
back
давай,
into
давай, давай,
your
давай.
life.
Давай свой телефон.
She's been waiting.
Сейчас сделаем.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Берем трубку.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Давай, давай, давай.
This is a very sad story about the
Здравствуйте, тетя.
death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work.
Кнопку нажимаешь,
One might
все
even feel
превращается
sorry
в
for
офис.
him, except that he's chosen this life.
Так, что изменится?
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Посмотреть телек.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job.
First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Где вы детей увидели?
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Прекрасно.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Где дети-то, блядь?
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Давай, давай.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Давай подождем. Но ничего не будет.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Можно?
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Да, веселые концовки. Ну, на этом мы сегодня закончим. То есть мы осмотрели полностью тот сектор, который был с лифтом, с вот этими развилками, с красной и синей дверью. Мы там все осмотрели, плюс-минус. Мы только с ведром туда не ходили. И не пробовали не брать телефон. Ссылка на плейлист с прохождением будет в описании под видео. Подписывайтесь на канал, ставьте лайки, нажимайте на колокольчик. Ну а мы увидимся с вами в следующих прохождениях. Всем удачи и до новых встреч!